And welcome in. It is Jags A.M. JP Shadrick in for Kai Stevens. She'll be back with us next week. Brian Sexton and John Oehser coming up. Oh, it's been a quiet few dead weeks around the organization. Not at all. Let's get right into the big things, starting with head coach Liam Coen, announced by owner Shad Khan.
When we interviewed 10 remarkable candidates for the positions, two things became clear to me. Number one, that this wasn't a moment of regret for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This was a moment of progress, optimism, and confidence that we will achieve the ultimate goal as long as we have the right man. And number two, that man was Liam Coen.
We'll hear from Liam Coen coming up, Brian Sexton, but boy, what a whirlwind it was after the first round of interviews, a change of the GM spot, but they got their man in Liam Coen.
They did, and it felt like they didn't crack the glass ceiling or go through the glass ceiling. It felt like they shattered it, that they blew it up, John. They hadn't had a clean sweep with a general manager and a coach, both coming in at the same time since Dave Caldwell and Gus in 2013. And I don't even know where to go with this one other than to say I look at this coach differently than a lot, because this is what I like to call that hedge fund coach, the data-driven, super aggressive, turn conventional wisdom on their ear kind of young coach that the Jaguars really have never had. Not to say that he doesn't have some old school coach in him. His father was a coach. But this guy sort of breaks the paradigm that the Jaguars have had.
Yeah, I think what I like is, to your point, Brian, he looks new school in the sense that he's young and he's got that energy. But when he talks football, he talks old school. He talks the running game. He talks the lines. I was kind of laughing during that week when they, in the lead up to hire Coen, JP, because everybody was all worried about this day and the Bucks and all this stuff. Get your guy. Yeah. And 2 weeks later, is anybody even really talking about that stuff that went on? No, they're talking about the Jaguars getting their guy and they're moving on. So all that stuff is very much in the past. The future is Liam Coen, and there's a lot here to be excited about, and we'll see where that excitement takes us.
We'll get to, obviously, a young guy. We talked about that. We'll get to the youth movement on his staff coming up a little bit later as well. Big thing number two today, Tony Boselli is the Executive Vice President of Football Operations. The announcement.
Today, Shad Khan made my dream come true, and I'm ready to get to work. Next step is finding our general manager, and that work is already underway. I was the first pick in franchise history. It's not just a job, it's my passion. And I am so excited to be a part of the team that brings the first championship to Duval.
All right, John Oehser, Boselli is in the decision process now. It's got to be a great thing.
Yeah, and all three of us know Tony, and I think what's cool about this is not only do we three know Tony, I think most Jaguars fans who watch the shows and who are uber passionate about it feel like they know Tony, or they've probably met Tony, so they know what he's about. But even beyond that, Brian, we're going to talk so much about this. There's many points to get with Tony, but the guy they're hiring is not that guy you're seeing on the screen, meaning there's a passion to him, and yes, that's what it's all about. But as much as I tease Tony, this is a sharp guy who knows how to communicate, who knows how to bridge build, if you will. He has a vision. He can help Liam with that vision. And as much as Liam Coen, Brian, I'm excited about what Tony can bring in terms of the passion for the organization and helping Liam get his message across.
I'm excited about Liam Coen, but there's some uncertainty there, right? A first-time head coach, a young guy stepping into a new role. There's no uncertainty with Tony Boselli. He and I first started talking about him taking a bigger role in the organization when Wayne Weaver owned it, right after he came back in 2006. And he had to work over the last 19 years through a variety of different functions, whether it was ticketing and public relations, the radio, television stuff that he's done. And I sent him a text message the morning that they announced it saying, congratulations. Patience pays off for good people. This is a great person, and he is going to do incredible things. I believe that to the very core of my being because A, I know him and I know what he's about, But you can't help, John and JP, but feel his passion, his connection to this franchise, which goes deeper than most.
And no more happy hour Monday. What in the world is that about? Number 3 on the big things today. Personnel department's next. GM interviews are underway as we speak. And we mentioned Liam Coen. We'll hear from him right now. It takes organizational synergy at the top.
Starts with communication. It starts with the alignment and communication at every level, right? Building first and foremost the best staff that we can build. Because it's like I mentioned, it's about these guys. So how do we put the best coaches in place to help these players reach their full abilities? Okay, now with the front office, how do we continue to build there and get this thing fully in alignment so that then when we go into the offseason program, we're all on the same page. We all understand the vision and the goal.
Brian, he also referenced the building he was in out in L.A. with the Rams, and you just feel it. It oozed out of that organization, just everybody working together, and that's what they're going to be looking for in the next GM.
Yeah, you think about the names, right? And people have asked me, well, what do you think of the names? Well, it really doesn't matter. Not that the person doesn't matter, but most people don't know the name Les Snead, who's the GM out there in L.A. We do here because he was here back in the early days. Who was the general manager that operated with Bill Belichick in New England? Most people can't tell you the various names. And of course, in Kansas City, you've got a GM that works with Andy Reid. That's the structure that's being built here. Someone is going to come in who's very qualified and work to build and bring the players to the table that Liam Coen wants. You want to talk about synergy? What better than to have a GM who works for the coach, who tells him exactly what he wants, and the GM goes to produce? I'm excited about the new structure.
Yeah, Shad has talked probably since the Urban Meyer hire of wanting an organization that's coach-centric. I think it was Urban Meyer hire, but it feels like about that long. He's been working toward trying to get that in place. And I think what Tony and what Shad said when they were talking about the changes, these guys are here to support Liam Coen's vision. Yeah. And I think that is what Tony will excel at. It's hard. You're going to interview 9-10 guys for GM. It's hard to know what the detail of that hire will be because it hasn't happened yet. But I do believe that it will be somebody who's in lockstep with the organization and with what Coen and Boselli want going forward. And I think we'll see in a couple weeks talking about details of that move.
All right, guys, we are back in the Hyundai Studios after a hiatus. We're back in a moment, though, with a look at that youth movement. You saw the staff, the coaching staff on the screen, the youth movement underneath Liam Coen. That's next on Jags A.M.
Can you imagine rising for work before the crack of dawn? Tending to hundreds of acres of land before dusk? Well, that's what happens on 47,000 Florida farms every day. Florida's farmers work hard to grow nutritious food for you and your family. And you can help support them by enjoying delicious Fresh from Florida produce. Look for the sunny Fresh from Florida logo where you shop or visit freshfromflorida.com to learn more.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at Everbank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
And that's a Magellan first down.
Move the freight, move the freight, move the freight.
Would you like to control your own income? Work at Magellan Transport. Voted the coolest office space in Duval. Bring your talents and let your career flourish. Visit their website at MagellanLogistics.com and apply online. Trust service. Trust Magellan.
How do we want to play the game? And that's fast. Fundamentally sound, attacking, situational masters, and tough. both mentally and physically. You see players in the room right here, guys that I've had conversations with already. It will always be about you. Always. It is players over plays. How do we make this as much about the players and making this about bringing out the best in you? That's what this is about.
Welcome back. It's Jags A.M. Jaguars football presented by Fresh from Florida. It's always in season. JP Shadrick in for Kai Stevens, Brian Sexton, John Ogier with us, and a lot of good things heard from the head coach in his opening press conference. The idea of being a fast team. He went through all the scenarios there, all about the players, and kind of sets the tone. And then his next priority was, of course, filling out his coaching staff. And he didn't spend too much time. I mean, they were thorough about it, but went through and got some guys in here quickly. But the youth movement continues. Yes, Liam Coen himself is 39. Defensive coordinator's 42. The offensive coordinator is 29. I think the average age of the staff is like 42 and a half years old, and that's kind of the new era in the NFL.
You know, I don't know whether people realize, but the most important question in interviews, in many cases, isn't the style you're going to run, it's who you're going to bring, right? One of the things that owners want to know is, what is your staff going to look like? And clearly, Shad was impressed when he laid out what he wanted, that young, aggressive mindset. Not anchored to, well, this guy has been 27 years in the league and he's coached this, there, and there. He has built a staff of idea guys that fit the ideas that he wants to bring.
Look, there's a movement in the NFL lately to go younger coaches, and I think what causes a little bit is the coaches know who they want. They know who's going to be a good coach, meaning these guys talk, and Grant Udinski, everybody in Minnesota, everybody around the league knows that this guy at some point very soon might be the next Sean McVay, right? Might be the guy who's going to get a job when he's 33 or 34. That's the feeling on the guy. Same with Anthony Campanile, the defensive coordinator. Same with Liam Coen to a point. So if you know these guys are on that track, you better hire them when you can, because I don't think Shad wants to hire a new coach next year to go hire these guys when they're a year older. So I think they wanted to get these talented guys here in the building, and I'm excited about him. I'm particularly excited to meet Grant Udinski. I don't care that he's 29. Everything you hear about him is that he is next level in terms of organization, motivation, all those things. I like the feel of this staff mainly because when I talked to Anthony Campanile, he said basically play calling, all that stuff. He said everything else is BS. It's about the players.
Listen, do you know,
I love that, Brian.
I do too. That's the old school side of him. I had more high school football coaches that I have relationships with here ask me if I could get an introduction to Campanile, because he's a legend, and his brothers are legends in New Jersey in the Catholic High School League up there. So, I mean, he's gone and found guys that are both young and aggressive. And I think one of the things that's so appealing about this, right, the quarterback, the cap situation, the draft picks, the facility, the owner, is the coach, right? Not every coach can attract a staff that's exactly like this, bright and young, strong.
First impressions matter, though. So the first time they're in front of the football team, whether it's defense, offense, whatever side of the ball you want to go to, we find out after the fact later that some of those early interactions of the previous regime, especially on the defensive side, well, that didn't go so well, and it kind of carried over, John.
Here's what matters as much as that. Players just like us, if we had a new boss, what's the first thing we would do? I'd be texting somebody who knows this guy and say, hey, what's going on here?
What's the deal with this guy?
What do we got, right? My understanding is when players were texting around about these guys, the response was, you're going to love these guys. And that is what matters, because other players know these are guys you want to follow. These are guys you want to be around. These guys are going to treat you well. I'm optimistic about that, and I think the players are too. Once they get in front of the room, you got to command the room and all that. In the end, Brian, this is a two-notch question to me.
Okay.
Liam and Campanile, fine, he's going to do what he's going to do.
Right.
I like the guy. I've met him. Can Udinski and Coen get 2 more notches out of Trevor?
Oh.
If that's the case, they could be named.
Yes.
They could be 8 years old. I don't care.
Yeah. No, listen. That's the question, right?
Yeah.
You can talk about the scheme and listen. What Campanile is going to bring with him is some of the Green Bay Packers scheme last year. And if you talk to Jeff Lageman and Tony Boselli about that scheme, they said on game day, this is a really good scheme, a really player-specific scheme. So I'm excited about that. However, this whole thing rests on Liam Coen getting the most out of the franchise quarterback. That's the key to success on Sundays. That's the key to the franchise rising to the level that this owner has desired it to be since he bought it. Now is the time. You can't waste any more. You've got to get this quarterback to play to his potential, to be his best. And the thought is that this coaching staff's going to get there.
And that's the key to the Udinski hire. He's not going to call plays. But in Minnesota, this was the guy that young quarterbacks went to, J.J. McCarthy. There's a story in the Minnesota newspaper that I quoted when I was writing about this. He would text the offensive coordinator like 11 o'clock at night, and the guy would go, hey, text Grant. Right? So this is a 28-year-old kid at the time that his master of these things was such that the coaches trusted him with the young guy has gravitated to him. That relationship with Trevor, I think, is going to be fascinating to watch.
Sam Darnold had the best year of his career. You can't overlook that.
Right, Baker Mayfield as well. So that, if those guys get that out of this guy, that's the storyline to me.
Well, who's the youngest coach with a statue out front, I wonder? That's the question we should be asking here, okay? If they get those 2 notches, who knows? We may be talking about that. Let's come back in a moment. It's been a busy month for Jaguars players as well. Some guys heading down to the Pro Bowl, and a huge honor for a Jaguars defensive lineman. That's coming up next. It's Jags A.M.
Floridians, do you know how close you are to freshness? It's not a plane or a ship ride away. It's not across an ocean or over the equator. It's not even a far drive. The peak of freshness is at your grocery store, and it's called Fresh from Florida. Fresh from Florida is local produce grown by farmers right here in our own state, meaning it's always fresh, always in season, and always mouth-wateringly good. Look for the sunny Fresh from Florida logo or ask for it by name where you shop.
Ranked as the nation's best public university by the Wall Street Journal, the University of Florida is on a mission to transform education. UF continues to help grow the economy through research breakthroughs and leadership in AI. And with its nationally recognized career services, UF students and graduates have never been better prepared to make a difference in the world. To learn more about how the University of Florida fuels bold ideas that make an impact around the globe, visit fromflorida.ufl.edu.
Attention homeowners, Chelsea here. For a limited time, Renewal by Andersen is making it easy to upgrade your home during our free window month. When you buy 4 windows or patio doors, you'll get 1 free. Our exclusive Fibrex material delivers the perfect combination of energy efficiency, durability, and style. Perfect for your home makeover this season. But hurry, this offer won't last long. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free consultation today. Renewal by Andersen, the better way to a better window. Restrictions apply. See website for details. License number CGC 1527613.
Attention music fans, the 2025 season at Daly's Place starts this month. Get ready for Rod Stewart, the Coral Reefer Band, Teddy Swims, Avril Lavigne, Shania Twain, and much more. And we're just getting started. Head to dailysplace.com now for tickets and show info. Shania's coming. John.
Rod Stewart's coming. Rad Rod rules rock and roll.
Fantastic. What a lineup.
Yeah,
did you just make that up, or is that a line?
I did not. That was actually something back in my Episcopal high school days. I'll never forget. The girls were crazy about Rod Stewart, and somebody had written on a little whiteboard, Rod Stewart, Rad Rod rules rock and roll.
You remembered all these years later.
For some reason, that was stuck in my mind.
Just rolled off the tongue.
It's a heck of a show, I'll say that. He was here, he's been here the last few years.
Yeah, you can't be in my generation and not have enjoyed a Rod Stewart song every now and then.
It has been a busy month for Jaguars players. A few guys to the Pro Bowl, of course, the specialist Logan Cook, Ross Matisic, the long snapper, sent to Orlando in the initial vote. And then the first alternate at wide receiver, Brian Thomas Jr., got the nod as well, guys. And, you know, you can argue he should have been voted in to begin with, but a rookie, tough to do that. But he got his honors and made it a splash and impact in the Pro Bowl games. A couple of scores, if you're into that. But it was good to see him in that spotlight.
Watching him at the Pro Bowl, I did watch it. It's amazing they got him at 23.
Yeah.
It's amazing that they moved back twice and added a couple of picks and got him at 23. It just blows my mind that a talent like that slid through, because he did so much with Mac Jones, and Mac Jones doesn't have the arm strength or the accuracy of a Trevor Lawrence. And you look at the numbers that he put up this year, fellas, and you would think that if he had been with Trevor Lawrence all season long, those numbers might have been much more significant. Nothing against Mac, it's just that Mac doesn't have that skill set like Trevor does.
Pro Bowl alternate, so to speak. We've all been doing this a long time. Sometimes guys get the Pro Bowl alternate. You're like, well, like a Pro Bowl alternate.
It's a big deal, right?
He's never going again, right? Or it's like the third guy. And sometimes Pro Bowl alternate fixes and rights a wrong. This was the case of the latter. I'm glad for his sake that he got to go, because he deserved to go. Nobody down there was looking around going, what's this guy doing at the Pro Bowl? It was like, oh, welcome. Come in, join the club.
See you next year.
Here's your room for the next 6 years, by the way, because this kid's special. And also a shout out to Logan Cook and Ross, because they are guys. Everybody with the Jaguars who went deserved it this year, and it's good that they will have that next to their name in the media guide.
Remember, they didn't throw the football to him the first half of the season. I mean, think about that. All that stuff was at the end when everybody and their brother knew where the football was going. Then NFL honors came along just before the Super Bowl, and Arik Armstead, Jaguars defensive lineman, named the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year, second Jaguar to receive the honor. Calais Campbell got it. Now Arik Armstead has it for his work in the community, certainly earlier in his career in the Bay Area, but now he's brought that over to Jacksonville as well.
This might not mean a lot to folks, but when Calais got the honor, right? The player who wins it gets to wear a little patch on their uniform. And I was sad that they had traded him, because that went to a purple uniform in Baltimore. I really wanted to see that on the teal, right? The Jaguars have always, going back to Mrs. Weaver in the early days, placed a huge emphasis on their players being involved in the community. This being a smaller city where players could be touched and they could be heard from, and you could see them and feel their presence, there was always an emphasis on getting a Jaguar to be the Walter Payton Man of the Year, and we've had some very good candidates. They just didn't win the award. Well, for the first time now, you got a guy who won it 4 times in San Francisco and came here and was our nominee for it, and now we'll finally see it. It means a little something to me to see that on teal, and I'm excited.
Look, the season didn't work out nearly on the field the way that Arik Armstead or the Jaguars wanted it, and a lot of fans, there's always buzz, Arik Armstead. Look, whatever that was, it's a clean slate now moving forward for him. But whatever that was doesn't diminish from this award. This is a big deal, and as Brian said, it's something where the league in the last 15 years or so has really made it their premium. There's the MVP, and then there's the Man of the Year award. The Man of the Year award, for the players who get it, you could argue means as much or more, because it is somewhat of a lifetime career. You don't get the Walter Payton Man of the Year by having one good year in the community. It's a lifetime, and Peyton Manning won it when I was in Indy. He had built a hospital, right? So so it's that level of community involvement that Arik has, Calais had. So it's a big deal, and it says something. It says a lot about the guys who get it.
Listen, just a personal appeal here, right? We don't have a trophy case, right? We've got 4 division titles in franchise history, but they don't give you a trophy for that. We've never won the AFC, so there's no trophy for that, and obviously not the Lombardi. This is a trophy. He held it up. I'd like to see the Jaguars prominently feature that trophy, even though the stadium's going to be under construction. There's not going to be a lot of people walking through there. There will be staff there. I'd love to see that trophy prominently featured in that front case so that everyone can understand the importance of the Walter Payton Man of the Year award.
Shirts and hats, Brian. Shirts and hats.
And I mean, listen, that's great. I've got all those shirts and hats. But this is an honest to goodness trophy, and I'd like to see them do something with it.
Brian likes trophies.
Who doesn't?
Anybody out there that doesn't want to see trophies?
Who doesn't like a trophy?
We would have it right here on the table. That's what would happen. All right, let's come back in a moment. GM interviews are ahead, and our final thoughts right after this is Jags A.M.
Can you imagine rising for work before the crack of dawn? Tending to hundreds of acres of land before dusk? Well, that's what happens on 47,000 Florida farms every day. Florida's farmers work hard to grow nutritious food for you and your family. And you can help support them by enjoying delicious Fresh from Florida produce. Look for the sunny Fresh from Florida logo where you shop, or visit freshfromflorida.com to learn more.
Brooks Rehabilitation is proud to be the official rehabilitation partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We are here for them, and we are here for you. Ranked #1 physical rehabilitation hospital in Florida by U.S. News and World Report, our playbook is individualized treatment and exceptional care to get you back to living your life. Brooks has cutting-edge technology and therapy solutions in every care setting, treating sports injury, orthopedics, brain, spinal injuries, and more. Go beyond your expectations with Brooks Rehabilitation.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
Move the freight. Move the freight. Magellan's Transport, voted coolest office space in Jacksonville. Apply online at MagellanLogistics.com. Move the freight. It's Jags A.M. JP Shadrick in for Kai Stevens, Brian Sexton, John Ozier.
You missed being on the air.
First show in a while. Let's go, John.
Yes, it is. It is the first show. It is the first show.
Okay. GM interviews underway. They started this week officially, and Mr. Coen said during the press conference for Liam Coen, he was asked, "Hey, what's the kind of deadline are you looking at here for the GM?" He said, "Well, league imposed mainly February 28th is kind of the real true deadline that the league would like." So it feels like, yeah, the next couple of weeks this should get done.
Well, to give people a little, behind the scenes, you may bring the new GM in, but you're not going to change out your scouting staff. Yep. That generally happens after the draft is when the new GM will make changes. So you've got a group here that's working to build the free agent board, to work on the draft. You've got a cap team that's in place, and Tony Boselli is obviously, managing that until someone gets in. So you're not falling behind. You might as well take the time to find the absolute perfect fit. The guy who Liam Coen fits best with, who Tony Boselli fits best with, so that when you come in, he hits the ground running. I mean, it'll be boom like that in a matter of weeks. All of a sudden, you get the start of the new league year and the draft, and make sure you do it right.
Yeah, it's a really fast turnaround for the GM because I figure interviews this week, second interviews next week, so probably near the end of that next week or right at the beginning of the next, as we're going to the combine, you get a new GM. That's 2 weeks from the league year. So he will literally come in and be assisting Liam Coen and Boselli with those early decisions in free agency. I would expect the vision to be very much in place by the time that happens.
You mentioned it, John. 2 weeks to the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis.
Yes, it is, once again.
Yeah, and it should always be in Indianapolis, in my opinion.
Couldn't agree more.
Here we go. It's going to be a busy combine, John, with new coach, new GM, new EVP, all the things in play.
Yeah, it's going to be newsworthy, and the new direction of the Jaguars will be on display. So I'm looking forward to it. We got one more show. We have one more show to do here.
This whole offseason might seem like a blur. It's going to go so fast. There's so much that has to be done. There's so many stories for us to tell, right? New coaches, new general manager, the Boselli story. Before you know it, it's going to seem like training camp is just getting started. And I am one who thinks they can turn this thing around fast. So we're going to have a fast offseason to hopefully a fast turnaround in the season.
And by the way, the offseason program starts earlier now,
Yeah.
2 weeks earlier. April 7th, the players can come in.
Do they get an extra mini camp too?
I think it's
Yes.
voluntary.
Oh, yeah, I think all that stuff is now.
All
right?
that stuff. So a lot to be done. We're back, though. Great to be with you guys.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Yeah,
Thanks for
Have
jumping
a
in.
great day today.
Go Jags.
Yeah, let's. It's John Oehser, Brian Sexton. I'm JP Shadrick. Thank you for watching Jags A.M.